know, it's so ridiculous. It feels like 37 Celsius. So I don't know what that is.
In Boston, we'd call it wicked hot.
Yeah, it's like melting hot. So, I don't know, 98.6.
Oh, the body's temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the last time we talked we were talking about like how hot it was, and the temperature was again the same externally as it was internally, and it seems to be this really interesting synchronicity that keeps coming up when we talk. So,
As we're tuning into what is the energy, of the moment and what is the energy as we go into August, there's something about the heat being turned up from the outside so that it becomes normalized with the inside, right?
yeah.
Heating.
And I was thinking too, it's interesting because we're in Leo, which is like a fire sign as well, right? So it's like this internal flame is, I just see someone like turning it up on like a propane tank or something like that, where it's like we are um like escalating our own inner fire so that we can breathe that fire through what we're creating, what is coming up for us. And it's like we're burning away at the same time all these cords that have been restraining us and holding us back from just stepping into our light and stepping into what we're meant to be, who we're meant to be on so many different levels, whether that's physically, energetically, spiritually, emotionally, even. I'm noticing so much is coming up and moving through. And so I don't know, this month of August coming up just feels like it's going to be one of great transformation, and that fire, that heat, it's like it's bringing the heat, and it's going to really kind of throw some punches. And it's going to be tearing through like a wildfire. But at the same time, it's like tearing through. And I just see this rebirth, almost like a forest, just the rebirth after that fire tears through so naturally, so organically, coming up and sprouting up from our soul, our space of deep introspection, just it's authenticity that's coming forth. And there's no more playing small. There's no more playing out of alignment. It's forcing us to step into ourselves. It's like, okay, take a big step here. You got this. I'm going to force this in a sense that you're going to awaken to the power within you, and you're no longer going to be able to hide behind those masks you've been sheltering yourself from. So it's like, here you are, kind of like pushing a kid off the diving board. You can do it. You have a life jacket on. You'll be fine. And just kind of like throwing you off the deep end, and realizing, oh my gosh, I can float. I'm okay. And being so proud of yourself for jumping off that diving board or the cliff or the edge of kind of teetering. Like, can I do this? Can I not do this? And I feel like a lot of us have been doing this for so long, this teetering back and forth, where it's like it's finally time to be seen. It's finally time to step into that power within us. And I don't mean power like, control. I mean power like that internal flame.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be hugely groundbreaking for so many people.
Yeah, I think that wildfire analogy is just right because, first of all, it's what's happening in the world right now where you are and where I am, we're feeling it.
Mhm.
And that piece around, that we learned when Australia was sadly burning, but how it went from mourning and grieving the tragedy and the loss of life to the awareness that there are seeds of the new forest that can only be awakened by fire.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's a natural element as well, right? It's as I'm speaking this, I feel like my throat's being constricted. I want to like pull on my shirt because it's like, whoa, hold on. Who do you think you are? And that seems to be a theme of no, no, no. Not who do you think you are? Who are you? Who are you? And it's like this dark goddess is coming up with her flames and being like, it's time to ignite that light within you,
That's right.
because people will never be ready to see you for who you truly are. So own it. It's time to just own it and step into it and let those haters hate. Like I feel like I could go into like a Taylor Swift song. The haters gonna hate, right? Let yourself be seen because when you live in your truth, you're gonna glow in a different way. You're gonna be able to shine and your vulnerability is going to help so many other people step into their own light. And it's like this huge collective of goddesses stepping forward right now and stepping into that inner flame, into that there's another word for it. And it's just this visual of women hand in hand stepping up to the line and stepping over collectively and saying, and I can hear this stomp, this collective stomp, like we will no longer be kept in the shadows.
Yeah. And a huge part of that is the dark sister, which you were talking about, the dark aspect of the goddess. So let's go there and help people to understand this piece about shadow work and
Mhm.
what is emerging now and how we can deal with it because maybe overwhelming to some.
Yeah, I love that. And like when I think of shadow work, I think a lot of people, me too, when I first started doing the work, I thought shadow work and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. That's scary. I don't want to do that." That like it just there was just such this heaviness. And I think society had a lot to do with it. It brings me back to the church, like those, like you're going to hell if you think this way, do these things, all those condensations, or I don't even know if that's the right word, but um, those notions that darkness is wrong and evil. And what I've really learned is it's just pieces of ourselves through conditioning, through judgment of ourselves and by others that we've kind of put on the shelf in the pantry and then shut the pantry door on. And to do the shadow work and to do the work of the dark goddess, it's opening that pantry door and maybe taking a flashlight and looking around and being like, oh, there it is. I forgot about you. And then bringing her forward and doing so in a way that you can encompass it with love and grace and maybe some surrender, as well as a whole bunch of other things. But letting her come forward in the safety and the serenity of who you are now with maybe the help of the dark goddess, maybe the help of some soul sisters, but it's not about bypassing those pieces that are in the pantry. It's about shining the light on them and bringing them forward. It's not a place to be feared. Who knows, maybe there's a delicious red velvet cake in in the pantry. And so to go in and take that and bring that out into the light and begin to be curious about why it was put there to begin with and how we can begin to enjoy that piece is that what I interpret shadow work and the beginnings of working with the dark goddess. It's just those bringing the things back out of the cupboard,
Yes.
pantry.
And to know that as they first emerge, they may not be very happy.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
If you were locked in a closet for years or decades, you
Mhm.
may be pissed off, and rightfully so. And so, that grace that you were talking about, and that curiosity and that compassion are essential ingredients to restoring the balance. Because, if you're on a seesaw, right, with them, you've had all the power and all the exposure, and they've been locked in the cupboard. And so, there's going to be some give and take and some normalizing of the relationship until you get to a place of balance where integration can occur.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And yeah, honoring that, when we bring things out of the closet, I love how you said that things may be angry, right? And there might be resentment there, not just towards ourselves, but to others. And working through that can be really tough. I, when I teach any kind of certification or when I'm doing any kind of work one-on-one or in groups or on retreats, I always say, listen, we're going to be doing some work today, and we might be opening a door and walking through a threshold that we can't really walk back out of. Once we're aware of it, we can't just shut the door and pretend it's not there. So it can cause huge changes in your life, right? It can disrupt relationships or your perception, but it can also have this beautiful uncloaking as well. So, would you share a little bit about what that means for you, Miriam, when we talk about, some of the disruption that comes with bringing those things out of the closet or out of the pantry that maybe we've forgotten about that's causing resentment and what that means in your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, so if you think about it from a societal view, women who have been raised in like civilized society, basically patriarchal societies, as an example, have been taught to squelch the parts of us that are most fiery, that are most like the dark goddess or Kali, right? And so as we start creaking open the pantry and inviting different parts of ourselves out, some might be wounded children and just upset and holding hurt for us, which is a great service to the rest of us. Some may be fiery, incredibly powerful beings, kind of like dragon like beings. There was I think last summer or the summer before, there was a book that was a bestseller called When Women Were Dragons. And it so spoke to the zeitgeist, to what's happening in society of like this dragoning of women. And so as we're reclaiming our parts, one of the parts or one of the energies that's looking to be reintegrated through women is our fiery fierceness, that rage that we've been working through in the Goddess Grail, that energy that says, I will not allow my power to be squelched anymore, and I'm going to stand up, I'm going to shine. And just like what you were saying in this energy update, is like there are sisters collectively around the world who are stepping into their power, who are saying, stomping their feet, saying, I will not stay quiet and I will not stay small. And when we have each other and we can cross those thresholds together, we can reclaim that with a lot less stigma or fear, right? Because our power is coming back on board. We're coming whole again. We don't have to be fragmented and pretend to be small anymore. That's an old, sad game and it's over.
Yeah, and I think exactly what you said there is we don't have to be small anymore. We don't have to be fragmented. And I think that's an old wounding that we really are beginning to heal as a whole, right? We've had to be quiet. We've had to hide. We've gone through witch trials. We've gone through, times in life and society where, if we spoke our mind, we would be locked in an asylum, things like that. And now it's like, no more, no more. And this August, it's just the feeling I'm feeling around it. It's like this huge ball of energy is just cycling and circling and it's collecting all of that intolerance, I think is the word I want to use. It feels right. And it's just like bubbling us to the surface and it's helping us stand taller and sit taller, bring our shoulders back. It's like, I am woman, hear me roar. I think we've said that before. It's like, here I am, here we are, right? When we do the I am goddess in our ceremonies, it's like declaring, here we are. Hear us roar. We are no longer staying silent and staying in the shadows and walking behind men in order to, you know, make life easier for others. We are going to own ourselves and own our voice and really own our worth. And I think that is something that is going to cause a lot of disruption in many people's lives, whether it is a relationship, whether it is, doing the shadow work, whether it is your job. Maybe you're waking up to your own inner power, that flame within you, and realizing that I can no longer tolerate this 9 to 5 that I've been working. It is draining me. It's been sucking the life out of me. I do not have my spark. And maybe it's time to realign, even on the side, find that peace which lights your soul up a little bit more so you can do what you got to do until you can do what you want to do. And I really think nature is also mimicking this as well. We're having a hot, spicy summer. Like it's so prevalent to what's going on as a whole. Like even I taught yoga class outside of my backyard here this morning, and we were laying on the ground, and we were feeling into what was beneath us on the ground, coming with our backs, surrendering to Mother Earth, and we could feel. It was almost like we could feel her pulling away those fragments that are no longer serving us. And it was the most interesting sensation I've had in a while. Because usually I'm belly to belly, and this was back to back, and I surrendered and opening up. and the shifts that were happening, and we just all started like sweating profusely. And it was just, there's something where she is helping us as well. She is hearing us. We are so interwoven right now, and just tapping into her, I think is going to propel this energy so far. So if if you're listening, it's like take a moment to go lay on the ground, or put your feet on the ground, or look up to the sky, and let the wind come across your face, and really connect, really speak, really open up and acknowledge, because I feel like that letting her come and help us is going to be so profound in taking everything to the next step in the energies right now that we're literally sitting in.
Yes. Yeah, this is a huge part of what we were doing in our dark moon ceremony in the Goddess Grail last week, where, our work was to really anchor in that divine energy, that knowing of our own divine self, that all of us are divine humans, and that's our potential. And so as we continue to anchor in and build our connection to that power, what starts to happen is those little there's a poem that a teacher of mine likes to quote, Tracy Forrest, these little voices sharing their bad advice. I'm sure I'm not getting it exactly, but or shouting their bad advice. And so, the more that we anchor in our power, the more we allow ourselves to become more of that divine feminine essence that we are, the more these little, bits, these parts that are wounded, that are holding burdens that we've been carrying, they start to speak up. And so we were inviting them forward in that shedding and repeatedly shedding. And we facilitated a ceremony that allowed for that work to happen, and working with the elements to transmute the energies that were coming through. And so we had several people say, I'm going to use this again and again because it can help me in a way that is a bit different from that. Parts work is so valuable. And sometimes when we are in a one-on-one process, there can be pressure to perform. But when you're being held in a circle of sisters, and these parts are coming forward and they feel themselves to be helped and seen and loved, there can be kind of this gentle releasing that just allows that shedding, like you were talking about in the yoga
Mm,
class, of like, it's we don't need to carry this stuff anymore.
no.
It's over.
Yeah, and that's so wild because I wasn't there because I was camping, as you know, with my kiddos. So I was just like, my jaw was like on the floor hearing. I haven't been able to watch the replay yet. So that's wonderful. I love that. And as you're talking, Miriam, I've just kept hearing like Mary Magdalene, the Rose, like all the women in the past. And I just want to keep like rolling my hips and letting her come forward and unlocking it. It's almost like as I roll my hips, it's like this energetic symbol of the flower that's opening up within the womb space, and it's like rising up, and my throat's getting really tight. And so it's like there's something there too. So not only tapping into the elements, letting yourself move almost like sensually, right? And letting yourself just find what's coming up and what's you're right, you're sensing in your body, right? That connection, right? Our jaw and our pelvis are twin bones. They twin, they connect. So when the throat starts to go tight, for me, that's some congestion within that womb space and that femininity in my root. So it's really fascinating just to roll and acknowledge and see, and allowing everything to come through. So just adding another layer to that exercise is it's huge.
Yeah.
I love
There's Yeah, and it relates so strongly to you mentioned the word chords very early on,
that.
and it's funny because chords are up for me too.
Mm.
And not it's not chord work isn't something I consciously do on a regular basis, but I'm being shown ways that I'm chorded to friends, acquaintances, things like that, that are like, oh, this is actually kind of messy. Like it's time to consciously separate this and find a clearer way to be in relationship with each other. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think we forget about those chords with friends too, right? Like sometimes I think you said congested, is that right? Yeah, letting that clear out and cutting the cords, as you know, as we know, we do this work together quite frequently, it's not necessarily cutting a relationship. It's just literally like clearing the gunk out of the pipes and letting that relationship build back up consciously again. And sometimes that can feel beautiful because we vent and we share and we have our own things going on in our world. And sometimes just to cut that cord, it's just like taking a deep breath and exhaling. It's like, okay, giving you a big hug again. And we're rebuilding it with an intention of joy and love and letting that light come back in for both of us, right? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful gift we can give each other too, is to do that, I think. And I that's the other thing I think cutting cords is like, ooh, you better cut her cord or things like that. I feel like they get a kind of like a tainted perception, but it can be a beautiful practice with you when you bring the intention of love and letting that fire come in and cleanse and clear and then moving back in with that intention of that love or that rose or whatever you want to bring in. And especially, as things, as that fire sweeps through right now, it's like, yeah, let it wash over us and move through and clear out and cut those cords. Um, what are you feeling when we think of like August as a whole? If we were to bring like one word to it, what's coming up for you? Because it's kind of like as I moved my hands over my body, I just saw like the fire come over, but then I saw like water come over as well. And it was just like, oh, there's something else here. So I'm wondering like if we sit with that for a moment. I just want to like exhale, like clear everything out, almost like an accordion, like when you constrict or contract an accordion, like the air all comes out, or like bagpipes. Um,
Let's do that. That's a good
yeah,
practice. That's not just for us, but like one who's,
everyone who's listening.
yeah.
Yeah, so just taking that nice deep breath in and just exhaling and envisioning that contraction, that clearing, that release. What's left there or what's coming up?
Yeah, it's feeling like this is a time for recirculation of energies that have been trapped.
Yeah.
As we think about like the lung capacity and kind of the bottom of the lungs that we don't often bring our breath into or squeeze our breath out of, right?
Mhm.
And cords are the same thing, shedding is the same thing. It's like energy can get stuck in old patterns. And this is the moment for the clearing of the patterns, for the releasing of the things we're conscious of and the things we're not conscious of. And oftentimes the stuff we're not conscious of can be, the stuff that's impacting us even more, right? So practices like deep breath work.
Mhm.
Inhale as deeply as you can, exhale as fully as you can. And when you think you can't exhale anymore, just release another little puff of breath of whatever you have, right? These things, the cord cutting, the shedding of the, you know, old wounds and baggage, opening the closet, these are all things that can help us to consciously make use of this clearing out that's happening, because this does feel like a really powerful moment of let's reset, let's use that heat to clear out the old forest.
There's something ancient in that too. And it's bringing me back to when we were talking about Dolores Cannon's book,
I think.
Horns of the Goddess. And it's like this remembrance of before the world is or is as it was, what was there before? It's almost like these deep roots that have been in the earth that have been dormant are coming back up and they're rising with us. And they've just been waiting.
Yeah. When you
Yeah.
talk about oceans, it's really interesting, right? We're talking about fire cleansing and then an ocean cleansing. I learned from my foraging teacher that there are little seeds all over the earth from when the earth was covered with water of what are they, cattails, like those
Oh,
kinds of reeds that are edible,
yeah.
very nutritious, and all of that. And I was like, oh, that's a cool, fun fact. And then I went to my friend's farm and she had allowed like a reflooding of an area and there were cattails. And she's like, I don't know where they came from. I didn't plant them. And I was like, oh, those are the seeds that were waiting dormant, and this is possible everywhere. And this is like, those seeds of remembering, of potential, of blossoming that are just waiting to be awakened in the right circumstances. So
Yeah.
I love what you're saying about this fire and water, and I want to hear more about what you're sensing with with this ancient energy that is here.
Yeah, it's like all I see is these old seeds and they're almost like petrified. And there's something that's been grumbling in the earth, and as we shift into more of a balance between the matriarchy and the patriarchy, it's like something is fertilizing the grounds for this to come up and through. Like these seeds don't necessarily need the elements. They need the energy and the belief to grow and begin to expand and come out. And I think it's very much mirroring what's going on in our womb space as well, right? That reclaiming, that recalibration, the recalling. And even when we look around, whether it's like the cattails or even like my own backyard, I live on a ravine and this year I had put up a fence because we got a puppy, and within a few weeks the vines and I have these beautiful flowers have completely covered the fence. It's no longer a metal fence. It is completely covered in plants and flowers and vines. And it's like when you sit and you honor and you allow the awakening to come through, right? When I think of the water, it's like instead of fighting and meeting with resistance, it's just like when a massage therapist, they want to dig into those muscles, but sometimes there's just that light touch that releases a lot more than the deep muscle release, right? And it's like that same kind of theory when we allow ourselves to let the waters wash over us, when we surrender to that more feminine, maybe energy, the vibrations, when we sit with the earth and ask her to help us to surrender, that's when those seeds are rising. It's like this ancient connection is coming back and this ancient knowing. Like if you've all of a sudden been walking through the forest and being like, oh, hi, tree, and be like, whoa, or just like wanting to touch the trees or the grass, or maybe the birds have been calling for your attention more so, and you find yourself feeling more and more connected. I think these are all the things, the energy, the connections that's helping these seeds begin to sprout and come up. It's really going back into the indigenous ways of living. And I think more and more of us are coming back into that space and living through the heart rather than living through the head, coming back into this feminine authority, right? This sacred authority rather than this patriarchal way of having authority, which is, I need, I want, I control. It's I am, I surrender, I seek.
Yeah. I receive, I
And
hear, I listen, I speak, the authority of love,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
of co-creation, of relationship with all that is.
Mhm.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So it's a fiery month, but we have a
it,
lot of resources on tap and a lot to work with.
yeah. And I think even though it's fiery and it might feel disruptive and like everything's falling apart and crumbling, it's remembering the wave that comes after, the soothing that comes from that, the seeds that begin, like the cattails that begin to grow, right? New life comes after the fires and the destruction. So just letting ourselves let it wash over us.
Yeah. And for
Just
those who feel
connecting.
like they need some more holding, we invite sisters to join us in the Goddess Grail, those who identify as women. We hold a safe and sacred container this week. We'll be gathering in sacred council. So, like that practice of passing a talking stick. And we can do it over Zoom and we can listen from the heart and we can speak from the heart and we can hold space for each other as we are unraveling and emerging from
Yeah,
these seeds. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. There's something about being seen and being present with women from around the world. Even though it's over Zoom, we've had such a profound connection. And it's like you can take off the masks. You're sitting in your own home in your space of safety, and definitely beyond our council that we have our ceremonies as well. We do full moon and new moon ceremonies that work with the energies that are coming up, work with the goddesses, work with that inner knowing. And it really helps us to come back to who we are. It's not about healing and fixing, it's about reawakening and allowing the goddess within us to reemerge in her beauty and her grace, in her strength and glory, and all that we are beyond the mask, beyond the conditioning, beyond those lines we've been fed to who do you think you are? And it's like, let me hold your hand and show you who you are and celebrate you for who you are. And it's a beautiful community to join. So definitely check out, we'll put it in the show notes if you are wanting to join us. We would love to have you there with open arms and open hearts. And the women in our community are so wonderful and we love them so much. So definitely reach out and we hope to see you soon. So thank you for tuning in to this episode of Seasons of the Goddess, and we hope you have a beautiful August.
Yay, happy August. Thank you.